All right, our next one, we are a little bit ahead of schedule here, is going to be,
But he's here.
oh, he is hiding behind the pillar. Sorry about that.
That's the
Didn't
key
see you there,
place
Brock.
to sit in the room.
It's the what place?
That's the key place to sit in the room, right there.
Yeah. Well, thank you also for applying, and
Sure.
you have a very impressive resume. I don't know that we've ever met. I'm Rachel Richards, Chair of the Board this year.
I was told that I should talk to you.
Oh, okay. Oh, boy, about what? And then if others would like to introduce
Patty
themselves.
Clapper.
Patty, nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you.
Steve Child. Steve?
Buck and I have already met.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
George Newman.
George, nice to meet you.
And you know
We're,
Phyllis?
And hi, I'm Phyllis Mattice, and I'm actually the liaison to the translator board.
Oh, great. Phyllis, nice
Yeah.
to meet you.
Thanks for applying.
Oh, I couldn't not when I saw the ad in the paper.
Okay. And what skills do you believe you would bring to the translator board?
Well, my background's in project management and successfully delivering change. So, it's pretty much a Swiss Army knife for anything that you want to do as far as, creating something new or bringing something back. But the reason that this is especially important to me is I do a lot of work online, and I've been needing more and more to do live video conferencing, which is bandwidth intensive. So as far as I can tell, Comcast pretty much has all the infrastructure, and my discussions with them about getting bandwidth requirements changed ran into a lot of roadblocks, and they're the only game in town, and I thought that this is kind of a problem. And so I wanted to have input into future plans with how that went, because it's a large demand and it's just going to grow. So
Yeah.
that's why I've done a number of projects. I guess you read my resume, so I've done some strategic projects, mostly in the private sector for large corporations, but and I've never been involved in government, local government before.
Well, thank you. It's a good, thorough answer. And let me ask you, Phyllis, because we do have the broadband initiative, and then, of course, we have the translator board. Is the translator board adding input and effort into the translator, the broadband project as a whole?
Yes, they are. So the broadband project from that 2011 vote is included as part of the it's still called Translator, but it's part of that initiative.
part
So
of
it
the
includes
mission
TV, FM, and broadband. So the
Okay.
purpose statement was expanded in 2011 to include broadband. And actually, our meeting tomorrow night, we're going to review most of the information that we provided to the board last week, I believe it was, to the Translator Advisory Board, so that they understand where we are in the broadband project and all of our communication projects.
Yeah, I'll be down for that.
Okay.
Great.
And what time and where is the meeting tomorrow?
The meeting is at 6 o'clock at the Elgibel Firehouse on Elgibel Road.
Okay, because just so the board knows, I understand that as it currently sits, without new appointees, we really wouldn't have a quorum for that meeting. And we have 2 applicants who we can add to our resolution for tomorrow's regular meeting to fill the 2 vacancies and be able to have a quorum at that meeting. So you're going to hear faster than anyone else about our decision, which we'll talk about later
Like
this afternoon.
rapid fast.
Okay.
Okay.
Faster than broadband.
Faster than
We have 2 regular vacancies and 2 alternate
Yeah,
vacancies, so
so-
we're going to be continuing to recruit.
Can I-
Patty?
How long have you lived in the valley?
Well, I've been back and forth for 8 years, or 9, depending on how you want to count. And I'm half-time here and half-time in Patagonia.
Oh, wow. And I noticed that...
Patagonia.
Patagonia.
Yeah, on
South
the Chilean.
America?
Yeah, on the Chilean side.
Godfrey Daniels.
And I noticed that you went to school in Carbondale,
I did.
Illinois.
I did.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's interesting that they're, because I said, he went to college in Carbondale. And then I realized it was Carbondale, Illinois, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
Yeah. I want to thank you for taking the time, and I'm glad you responded to the ad. As Rachel has said before, we really depend on our volunteer boards. They add a lot of input and comment and work for us, and we really do appreciate that time. So I thank you.
Sure.
Michael?
So, Buck, you live in the city, right?
Yes.
So, and you're dissatisfied with the service in the city?
Well, I'm concerned. I'm dissatisfied with the options available. I don't think having a monopoly where, if it's a government monopoly, that's one thing, but if it's a profit-driven monopoly, then you have an almost irresistible incentive for gouging. There's no incentive to really invest in improving until you absolutely have to. So what you'll tend to deliver is the worst that the market will allow. And that doesn't work very well for me, and I don't think it serves our needs very well. So what I'm interested in is dealing with that problem. And then the thing that I am not really familiar with is what is the strategic plan for information services in the region. And that's the thing that I was told to talk to you about, because I was told you knew a lot about the long-term strategy. And
Kara does, as much as you will be tomorrow night.
well, I was really impressed because the guy
Let me
who...
finish with the same questions.
Oh, sure.
So, I just wanted to tell you that our goal really isn't to improve service in the city.
Mhm.
It's actually more to provide broadband access in the rural areas.
Oh, did I say city?
Well,
Yeah.
you live in the city, you're dissatisfied with Comcast and the sort of monopoly that Comcast has. The intention of this is not really to deal with Comcast, at least initially,
Mhm.
at all, really. I mean, because at least there's service here, right? There's service. In the rural areas of the county, in some areas, there's no service whatsoever.
Hence
Or
the
very-
translators.
Or very limited
Yeah.
service. So, and the plan is not really to get the kind of broadband width that you're talking about.
Mhm.
We just, that's not, at least on this initial step. So
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to sort of lay the.
Well, that's the context that I don't have. So
Right.
Yeah.
So that's.
I appreciate
that's-
that.
That's, so just so you know,
Mhm.
and it's more to set up, access for.
broader coverage than enhancing
Right,
the...
and because Comcast is unwilling to supply areas that don't have the density that the city has.
Mhm.
That's problematic. Just so you know, because there's the emphasis is different.
Mm.
Patty?
Yeah, I'm just going to say an unintended consequence, I think, of our efforts in the rural areas will be that we will see some increase in service within this municipalities. I mean, our goal is to respond to the needs in the rural area, but I think the reliability and the redundancy will be improved in the municipalities.
Well,
That's
the
great.
pipeline is only so big, and so if you have more taps on it, you got to make the supply big. Otherwise, everybody just gets a little trickle.
Right.
Yeah, I think they're kind of one thing rolls over into the next, and I was just in Cortez for a broadband update by other communities as well as updating my own, and they call it the halo effect of when you've improved quality and service in one area, others tend to get better speeds, reliabilities as well because you've done that. But we are asking, as time goes by, other communities to do the opt-out vote of Senate Bill 152 so that they have more flexibility to join us as partners. And, we are, I believe Kara is working on a presentation to the Chamber of Commerce to be able to talk about their needs and involvement potentially as well, because, it might be one thing to have adequate service in town, but if you go home and you need to send out work schedules to your employees and you can't do that from your home, you have to drive in for every inventory check, it's not really a good situation. So, it's in its infancy. I wouldn't say that we're trying to preclude improvements to overall service. The redundancy is an important model, and we're going to be, if it all unfolds as we anticipate, having buying some already lit fiber to increase the capacities. So I think there'll be crossover interests there.
I'm a big supporter of that opting out, and I was also thrilled. I'm sure you know about the recent court case ruling internet access a utility.
Okay,
And
no,
so,
I'm not as aware of that.
Yeah, I was.
Net equality.
Things, technology advances and we become dependent on them. And internet access has now been legally ruled as in that category. It's how we check on our kids. It's how we pay our bills. It's how we get our news and in support of being an informed electorate. And the judge said, look, this is a utility that for a certain minimum standard today, you need access, and that affects people who don't have it particularly hard.
Right.
Yeah, and the feds have upped the standard of which they consider high-speed internet, so.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. I was really happy they were not buying the lobbyists' line.
So perhaps we'll see more of that in the city as well.
Yeah.
So, do you have any questions for
I have-
us?
I have
Or
one more.
Patty, you have another?
Yeah, the meetings are quarterly, is that correct? And they're usually set up ahead of time, so you would know, because with your travel schedule, it's important that, because we don't know if we'll have more meetings as we start to really gear up with our new projects that are coming up. But right now, it's every quarter, and it's
The second Wednesday of the first month of each quarter.
Michael?
How about that?
Okay, let me write that down. The second
Wednesday.
Second Wednesday
Wednesday.
of the first month of each quarter. So
Okay, first month of
January,
each quarter.
April, July. What's the next one? October?
Okay.
Go on, that's
Okay.
September. Yeah.
Michael?
So, Buck, when you're in Patagonia, what's your internet access?
Actually, it's pretty good. I paid to have a line run to the house.
So it was available.
Yeah.
And is that a national policy, or is that just?
No, it's a private company that I was dealing with. It's a cable company, and they were running
in Chile.
They were running fiber.
They were running fiber.
Yeah, glass fiber.
And they were supplying the town or wherever you live, is that?
The neighborhood I was in, the barrio.
Uh-huh. So, and then that's not a national policy, or how does that, because we're getting no support on a national basis for what we're doing.
Right.
We have to do it ourselves, and nobody else is doing it. Comcast won't do it, so.
Yeah,
How does that work in Chile?
I'm not sure whether there's national support or not. There's national support. I mean, it's a super poor country, and I mean, one of the things that I was just talking to my mother about this. She's up in Alaska. She's in a rural area, kind of similar.
So are you trying to get as far away as you can?
No comment. She was injured. She was working in the basement and injured, and went down, knocked out. And for her to get to Anchorage, well, it's a very expensive place to stay, and getting there would be hard for her. That would be costly. She'd have to stay in a hotel. She'd have to be seen and go through those expensive tests and probably stay a couple of days, and then get back home. And she just said it was too much. It was too expensive. And I said, well, in Chile, which is, depending on how you measure it, it's the poorest country in South America per capita. I said, if anyone in Chile tolerated that, like an official, they wouldn't just be out of office, it would be the end of their political career. Because that's regarded as, in Chile, if you're out in the middle of anywhere, like the poorest campesino, a peasant out on the just subsistence farming, if they have an injury, all they have to do is say, I'm injured, at the nearest bus stop on any highway, and the bus driver picks them up. If they can get to a hospital, they'll get a note, and the bus company gets reimbursed for the trip. They get a minimum of care at whatever hospital can deal with them. They'll be flown to Santiago if need be. And no one, certainly no official, and as far as I know, I don't think I've met anybody in Chile who would even question that as a basic respect for human life. And my mom thought, that this was just crazy talk, but.
Time to move to Chile. So now, how does that relate to your broadband access in Chile?
Well, I am a big believer in minimum standards for everyone. And I think we've crossed that bridge on internet access. I mean, there may be people for whom it's just not practical for whatever reason. Like there may be campesinos who just can't get to the closest road. Okay, but you do what you can. And the principle is that everybody should have some minimum access. So
We're
that's,
trying.
that's my view.
Yeah. I think that's our goal too.
Steve?
So our translator system deals with television service, the FM radio service. A lot of the channels, stations you get locally go through the translator system, as well as the new broadband initiative. So based on, what it looks like on your resume, you might not have dealt with television, but the internet can bring television and bring radio, all encompassing. And I think, it appears to me that just your broad experience would give you you can see the big picture of things, and therefore help the committee, help the county staff work on getting a better system here. Is that, would you concur with that?
Well, you make me sound so awesome. Modesty prevents me from agreeing. But
yeah, you
anyway, I would say that a potential weakness, I'll come back with a counterpoint to that, is that, and I'm just going to be real honest about my bias. I recently got called by a representative from DirecTV, and they wanted to know why I was canceling my service. And I said, well, I don't use it that much or whatever. And they said, are you using Netflix? And I said, yes. Click. They don't even try. If you're using a broadband-based video service, they don't even try. I was about to say they can't compete, but their new ad now, this was on at breakfast the other day. Their new ad was, they were advertising that you can now rewind on, they have a rewind function that you can go back and that's pretty weak sauce compared to Netflix. It's kind of like, hey, I've really improved this buggy whip. So transportation will be a lot better if you use my carriage. Well, okay.
It's interesting.
So anyway, that's my feeling is that probably top priority should go to ensuring the services of the future. And if there's a radio station that's not on the internet now, when you can do it so cheaply, I would just wonder what they were thinking. And you can go globally for nothing. Now, why would you want to invest in a radio transmitting tower for when you have this?
Cars.
Cars.
It's your communication in the car. It's where you get your radio signal when you're driving.
That's true.
Yeah, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, very good thinking.
Let's see, those self-driving cars shall allow listening time.
So you'll probably be hearing from us in the next couple of hours,
Oh, okay.
Likely.
if you have service.
But if you can, please hold on to that time slot for tomorrow night's meeting.
I already confirmed with Charlotte that I would go.
Great.
What's the town you're in Patagonia?
I'm just outside Puerto Varas, and it's near Puerto Montt. And prior to that, I was in a region called Pangalemu, which is outside a place called Coyhaique.
Jeez.
And are you doing business down there?
I work online, which is why my Spanish sucks. I could do okay at the grocery store, but
You pronounce those very well, though. I'm
Well,
impressed.
to the other end of the continents, where does your mother live in Alaska?
she lives in again outside. I guess we all live outside of somewhere.
Well, what's
outside of Homer, Alaska?
Okay.
Where's your
Beautiful
daughter?
area.
Well, I have
Nelda
lots.
Tech.
Yeah, I've been there. I have lots of relatives in Alaska, and one of my relatives had to get to the hospital in Anchorage in the middle of the night from 100 miles away, and it was very problematic for him.
What time of year was it?
Summertime,
Okay, better.
and they needed a helicopter. That's how
Oh.
they got him down there. It
Okay.
had to be fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious. So
Yeah.
that doesn't have anything to do with the translator advisory board, but
Yeah.
you piqued my curiosity.
Do you have any other questions for us?
Just a quick one. What are you looking for, or what attributes or performance factors would you want from me to be of most value to what you're trying to accomplish, which I don't really understand the context yet, and I don't think we have time to talk about it. But
I would say strategic thinking and analysis as we're trying to look to this implementation plan.
Okay.
Certainly key skills. And then, often the other decisions are a little bit about recommendations on spending priorities or sequencing of things. And I think we're kind of set at this point in time, but periodically the renewal of who gets on the translator system and who doesn't, and that criteria that's set within the guidelines of locally serving news organizations or things like that. Patty?
I was just saying, broad range of knowledge and understanding, which you've already displayed here, of the services and the needs, I think are important. Because, the translator board does cover a broad range of issues, and so it's very interesting. I think that you will find it very interesting.
Okay. Just one thing, not on the resume, I don't think, was when you talked about funding prioritization. My master's thesis was on resource allocation in projects under conditions of uncertainty.
There we go.
Let's see.
I don't know where you found this wonderful person. We're really glad you responded and
thank you,
applied.
Lynn.
It's my pleasure, really.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Okay.